feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes not just cases, MotleyRice.com. Head to jbandgoldwatershow.com as well for much more on us. Share Healthcare chat lines are open and active, and I know why. We're going to get to that here in just a minute. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB. And at Darren Goldwater. Coming up, JC Shurburtt will be here at the BigSpur.com. It is National Signing Day. We thought everything would be quiet going into it on the South Carolina side, and this morning that has not been the case. There are multiple changes to the Gamecocks staff and potentially more on the way. We'll just have to kind of wait and see on that. So obviously, as we were set to go today with hoops, Carolina falling last night, National Signing Day, a bunch going on in the NFL. We know what's going to take front and center stage with the latest. Here is the latest. If you happen to have missed it before I get Darren Goldwater in here, Eric Kimry is leaving the football program. He's going to head to Chattanooga to be a high school head football coach again. There are rumors out there as to why that may be. I will tell you that I can't confirm or deny any of them. I don't know. I haven't. I'm just going to be honest with you. I haven't talked to Eric, so we're kind of waiting to see what else is being dug up. I can say that JC has already reported today that due to popular or against maybe popular belief, it is not related to Marcus Satterfield being retained as the offensive coordinator. I know there's a lot of rumors out there about that. Apparently this was a decision made by Eric Kimry himself to move on and go back to the high school ranks for a couple of reasons. Conor Shaw also leaving the program. He has confirmed that with multiple sources. I believe it was Mike Yuva this morning with Gamecock Central that had it first. This is something that is, from what I have gathered, been in the works for a while. Okay, and this is something that was more of a personal preference to Conor. Again, I'm not gonna speak for Conor Shaw. He obviously has spoken a couple of times, and he'll continue to do that when asked and interviewed and things of that nature. But from what I've gathered, this is something that he has kind of been leaning on for a while about maybe wanting to go a different direction in life, and so we'll have to see kind of what comes of that. What we know is that there are a couple of main openings. One of them is on the field and one of them is off the field. We don't know if there are going to be other openings yet in the program. Shane Beamer, by the way, is going to be speaking with the media today at 2:00. I'm going to be on that call and kind of check in and see what's going on here. He'll obviously recap signing day, which there probably won't be a ton of questions about that. It's probably going to be more about the staff. So, it is signing day, and it is also movement day for the Gamecock football program in regards to its coaches. And as the latest news continues to come, we'll pass it along. Hey, Darren.
Well, quiet on the recruiting front. We got that part right. That would be a quiet day recruiting wise. To be honest, I understand all of the passion, right? Because we have gone through weeks and weeks of discussing not only the belief that the offense wasn't moving in the right direction, but this undercurrent of maybe there are other issues behind that. I've firmly stood on the other side, basically saying, give it time. I've made it public very, very many times that keeping Satterfield, I think, is a fine move. I don't know how much of this is related. Others who are more tied in may have some thoughts on that. But if in the end it's Shane Beamer who made a call and said, this is what I think is best for the team, then based on the positive momentum the team currently has, if I was a fan, I would sit back and I'd say, okay, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, I mean, look, from what I understand, these weren't, staff changes initiated by the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
But, so we'll have to kind of see how it all unfolds. We don't really know, what is going to be next. I'm not sure. I've done some digging, but there's just not a lot out right now. Everybody's been pretty quiet, and except for the information that has been put out of the guys leaving. So, here's what we do know. They've signed an pretty exceptional class. There's a bunch of kids coming to play football here. I don't know if there's a plan to promote from within for Eric Kimmery or Conor Shaw. I guess Shane will probably speak on that today. You would think that, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm trying to be careful with what I say because I don't want to come off as knowing more than I know. Generally, I get some good information, but there's not much here. I mean, there really isn't. I'm just going to – I'll generally tell you what I can tell you, but I don't know what to tell you right now. I mean, we can speculate all we want to about some of these things. Because of the announcement coming on signing day, it seems like this has kind of been in play for a while, specific to Eric and Connor, and that Coach Beamer probably has a pretty good idea of what he's going to do to replace both of them in the program. But that also doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't going to be other changes that are made in the program as well. So it's kind of hard to pin down what the future is going to look like when we don't really know what the present looks like.
That's pretty much what I was getting at right there. I may not have articulated it well, but I don't know what's going on right behind the scenes right there. But the fact that this is happening, Shane Beamer has a say-so in what is happening. Even if two people leave on their own and there's absolutely nothing behind personal decisions, personal grievances or whatever, and it's strictly exactly what they're saying the moves are for, there's still some coordination there with Beamer. That's why the lack of clarity in terms of exactly what happened and why, and the pure speculation of, well, there's no way he wanted to get back into Kimmery, wanted to get back into high school, wants to actually do that instead of coaching at his alma mater. It seems the passion there behind it is also largely due as a result, kind of just on the heels of frustrations during the season. That's why I'm saying I would take a breath if I was a fan. I would definitely take a breath and say, okay, let's see where all of this goes, because there's a lot of positive things going on right now.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, look, for Kimmery, I mean, I know Eric pretty well. Eric's a phenomenal guy, a phenomenal person. Loves the University of South Carolina. One of the most successful high school head coaches we've ever seen in the state.
Yep.
And, again, this is all speculative, so I hope it doesn't make a message board as truth or fact or anything like that. But, Eric might have just realized, hey, I don't know that I want to live this 365-day-a-year life in college football. I have made money. I've made a pretty good living. I loved high school, developing kids, not having to go out and recruit year round and things of that nature. And he might just be looking to get back into that side of things. And why Chattanooga? I did see a note from, I think it was from Tony Morrell earlier, that the former headmaster at Hammond, I believe now at a school in Chattanooga, but they haven't been able to confirm if that's the school that Eric is going to necessarily. So, there's a bunch of reasonable information out there. And I would just, again, call it like you kind of said, Darren, I would caution everybody before throwing gasoline into the fire and just speculating, well, why, and thinking the worst. Let's kind of calm it down and see what happens and what it looks like moving forward. Conor's role is an interesting role. Okay. And I'll say this, take it for what it's worth. It's a great role. This is my personal take on the role. Okay. As the director, whatever you want to call it, director of football operations or player development. They all come up with something fancy. But that role was previously Marcus Lattimore's. Okay. And so I think it's probably easy. Hale, thank you, Craig. Hale wrote that. I think it's probably easy for fans to look and say, well, now, wait a second here. Two of the most celebrated athletes and people in the history of the athletic department, not just the football program, and Marcus Lattimore and Conor Shaw have been in this role and they've left it. Why? Okay, and I get that. That's a reasonable question, and that's a fair question. It's also a role, Darren, that this is just based on literally my own research, my own understanding. This is my opinion. This is not fact. This is not degrading or downgrading the position or anything of that nature. But it pays well, by the way. But it's also a role that I don't think is totally necessary to your football team. And here's what I mean by that. It's kind of more of a PR type role. Mm-hmm. They're coming up everywhere. So if you don't have one, you're kind of behind the eight ball. It's almost like if you don't have a trampoline in your building now, and all these new things are building, slides and putt courses and crap like that. If you don't have a putt course or an arcade, you don't need it, but it's kind of nice to have it. It's kind of just part of the puzzle these days. And this role is nothing specific or nothing that I'm saying about any of the people that have been in it. I know Marcus very well, and Connor. These guys are great guys, but I don't know that it's a role that at the end of the day, outside of an elite paycheck that we all dream of, I don't know how much it's satisfying their needs, as far as what they want to do professionally. And if there's other opportunities out there that will allow them maybe to make similar money, where they can spend more time at home with family, wives, kids, go on vacations and things of that nature, and not have to kind of be pitter-patting around a building all the time and not really know what you're going to do from day to day. Personally speaking, I hope we can all understand that might be part of the reasoning why this is neat to be in for a while. It's a great career starter, and then time to do something else.
It doesn't strike me as like losing these guys as some massive blow, right? I mean, if it happened to another school that you weren't directly tied into, you'd see a tight end coach left in a player development role, a former great player in a player development role, like you just very, very well kind of described. I mean, it's a PR type of thing. Hey, look, a great Gamecock is here. I can talk to you. I can act as a liaison for the program. If that happened at Vanderbilt, no, people aren't batting an eye because it's not, it's not inside your fan base. So it feels, I think, more personal, and it feels like it's a bigger deal than I think it might actually end up turning out to be. Now, if there's more, okay, we can talk about that. If there's more right now, that's really the only thing I can say. Those two roles are fillable, right? I mean, if you want a former player in that role, there are other former players who would probably do well in Conor Shaw's old role. You could probably find another tight end coach out there as well. You won't probably have the guy with the ties to Carolina that you have, but that's okay. So it seems like there's just a lot, like I said before, a lot of pent up frustrations that are kind of boiling up along with this announcement.
Yeah, I mean, and you pair it with the fact that we've for months there have been conversations and a lot of truth in many of the conversations about issues in the locker room within the coaching staff, and so and look, there's a lot of truth in that. I mean, I know pretty good amount of information from in that locker room. Okay, people that have that have downplayed that are wrong or they're incorrect. There have been issues there, but it doesn't mean that's why coaches are leaving. And again, this is not I'm not telling somebody not to think that or not to believe it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I don't know. I can't sit here and look in this camera and speak into this microphone and say that this is a direct tie-in to blank. I don't know. So, but if we do know, we'll talk about it. There's no doubt about that. We're always honest with everybody around here. So, but it's easy. I see RB. Hey, RB, hope you're doing well today, buddy. I see his comments. 2 Carolina legacies leave after contentious coach who had issues among the locker room, questionably is detained. No smoke there at all, Darren. And again, RB, I'm defending both of you here. Because you have every right to think that. I'm not saying that I don't necessarily think that. I'm not saying I do, but I am saying I'd like some more information. And Darren doesn't have all of the facts, and I think personally it'd be irresponsible for Darren to sit here on this camera and say, "Well, this is why they're leaving. This is what I think." I don't think that's responsible for you to say, Darren. I think that would be incorrect. So yeah. I'm saying that defending you, by the way. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm taking them at their word. Some guys are really much more comfortable in the high school ranks, even though they're legacies, even though they're a massive name in town. Some guys are legitimately more comfortable that way. So who am I to question that? I don't know Eric Kimry. So I can't question that. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about rumors that have been discussed, and maybe there's truth to them, but give me more. I need facts before I go into things.
Jamie, that wasn't for me. I thought that said JB. Do you think DeMarco's leaving? Let's let's probably hit pause. I don't know. I don't know. Let's just say it that way. Let's wait to kind of find out more here before we. And Shane Beamer, guys, is going to meet with the media in an hour and 45 minutes. So, there's going to be a lot of questions asked about this stuff. This is not off limits. These questions will be asked. And he will he'll hopefully answer those. Tim, I see DeMarco will most likely take Kimry's place. I'll just say personally speaking, God bless Eric. And well wishes to him. And for Pat DeMarco, a guy who is an elite mind on this staff, somewhat I've known for 15 years almost. If that's something that Pat wants to do and Shane thinks that he's capable to do it, then I think that would be an excellent move for South Carolina football, not just because it's Pat DeMarco, but because I understand what he brings to the field and to the team and all that type stuff. And I think Shane does as well. But, he might elect to look out there and try to find somebody else to come in. So we'll just kind of have to see how it works. And certainly going to talk to JC more about this in the next about 10 minutes or so. JC is welcome to stick around today as long as he wants to and be a part of our show. As more news comes out, he'll be here to maybe kind of break it as well. So we hope you'll tell your friends and stick around today on our program. Probably a lot to discuss on the Gamecock football front.
I do just before we jump off of that. If I could say that 50 more times, if there are more staff departures and if there is something there, I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. If there is more there, then at the end of the day, there was a decision that was made, and that was made by Shane Beamer. And if this is the way things are going, and there are going to be changes, at the end of the day, Shane Beamer is the one saying, I'm okay with that. This is the direction I want this program to go. And right now, the direction of the program is good. As an outsider, I would trust that. I do trust that. I'll leave that there.
Yeah. I mean, look, and I always appreciate the fact that you have that balance to this program because I'm an insider. And so it's good to hear it that way sometimes. And hey, Rodney, thank you, man. We really appreciate that. So we'll keep monitoring this and figure out what's going on here. And as soon as we get more information, we're going to make sure to pass it along to you. I'll say this: if you would have said, about this time last year or 2 years ago that 3 members of the Will Muschamp staff would be officially announced as members of the Nick Saban staff today, people probably would have laughed at you a little bit. But T-Rob is officially in T-Town, and so are Coleman Hutzler and Eric Wolford. And for those that missed the Eric Wolford story that came out on Football Scoop.com yesterday, I don't know. It's one side of the story. It's the Kentucky side of it. All right, so we don't have the Wolford side, and I'm not sure if Saban has asked about it, if he is going to address it or not. But for those that missed this, apparently Eric Wolford departed Lexington to recruit. I think he was also hitting some type of high school bowl game or something. Never came back. Signed with Alabama as the offensive line coach while he was off recruiting. And literally the door that he walked in to recruit the young man to Kentucky, he walked in and put an Alabama shirt on and said, I think you should come with me to Alabama instead of to Lexington. And it looks like the folks up that way ain't happy. So, that's if that's all there is to the story, it's pretty bad. Hopefully Eric Wolford's got another side to it, because that's just man, you gotta be kind of a schmuck to do something like that. That's just garbage, Darren. But
it reminds me of the Brian Kelly situation. He was on a plane flying back from California to South Bend when he took the job down at LSU. It's similar, except at least he's the head guy and he's the one making the eventual call there. But look, we talk about slimy stuff in recruiting. I mean, the adults have to do better, right? If this is partially true, he's got to do a little better than that.
Yeah, man. I mean, at least go back to Kentucky and say, "Hey, I'd like to go to Alabama," and then I'm gonna probably recruit this young man, just so y'all know. But kind of give him a heads up, and that's just garbage. I don't know if it's as much garbage as what we saw in the court last night in
nice
Starkville, Mississippi. South Carolina on a 3-game winning streak came in like they hadn't played in a month or more. It was pretty bad. Gamecocks fall 78-64. The score looks a lot better than what it was. Mississippi State pulled their foot off the pedal towards the end of it there. Carolina's able to get a couple shots down and close that gap a little bit, but behind 20, 25, 30 points at times with never seemingly any chance at bringing it back closer than that. If it could go wrong last night, it did for the Gamecocks. Here's the good news. It only counts as 1 loss. And the Tennessee game on Saturday is still a huge game. I know that some people won't see it that way, won't look at it that way, and understandably, but it is. It's a huge game to get back to 500 in league play and get their 14th win of the year. But last night, a lot of the things that we saw that were trending positively. I've said this, so I want to make sure that I hold my word now.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I personally have been, and Darren, I know you've supported a lot of the information that I've said over the last few days. There have been some positive trends for this basketball program. They've gotten better point guard play. They've been better in the paint. They have found some streaks in there where they've turned their defense into offense. Those are all generally positive signs in a Frank Martin team. And none of that happened last night. It was as somebody I was texting with called it hero ball, kind of dribble around and not really with a purpose, dribbling with a purpose. We talked about that with Debbie Antonelli. And just kind of shoot it here and there. Keyshawn Bryant threw up a couple threes early, and everybody's like, "Wait, why?" Couldn't rebound. Turnovers weren't really an issue. Defense was awful. It was just bad. It was bad. The lack of energy. I think when it's a bad night for a Frank Martin team, you don't need to say anything more than Keyshawn Bryant driving in the lane, turning it over, and just standing there instead of running down the court to defend, and Frank calling timeout and taking his rear end out of the ball game. That's a no-no with Frank Martin. And when things like that happen, Darren, things probably aren't going well, and it was bad. It was just bad.
That was deflate. If you were on the court, I can't imagine how deflating that would have been, because it was apparent early. I was talking with a good buddy of mine who is as passionate about Carolina basketball as anybody I know. I was texting with him last night during the game. And Mississippi State defensively was hurrying up the Gamecocks on offense. They got Gamecocks offensively so sped up that this team that is already having trouble being any sort of efficient, and they had started to do, from that standpoint, offensively, become a little bit more efficient with a little bit better point guard play, a little bit better shot selection. When you take a fragile team that's just starting to do that and you get in them, I mean, we talked about how Mississippi State and A&M were similar in the respect that they're both excellent defensive teams, but they played the Gamecocks very, very differently. Mississippi State was much more aggressive, and they sped them up, and Carolina didn't handle it well. So the reason there weren't a whole lot of turnovers, and the reason Mississippi State shot like 180%, is because the Gamecocks weren't hitting shots. So you're getting these rebounds that essentially are turnovers because you're not kicking the ball around. I think there's only 12 or 13 of them, but you're getting these boards and you're hustling up the floor, and the Gamecocks defense never had a shot. So their offense prevented their defense from even getting into the flow of this game. Combine that, I talked about the inside play. I put more of an emphasis on second chance points, but again, they hit every single shot they took, so that didn't matter. And the ones they missed, they got the rebound anyway. They were dominated on the inside. So they never, ever had a shot in that game. I think even if they played around the level they had been playing, they'd have been run out of that gym. That was a very good night for Mississippi State, but it was a bad one for South Carolina.
Yeah, I think it was twofold. I think first and foremost, Mississippi State's better. And to give them the credit, they deserve it. And then the other side is Carolina was bad. They're not that bad, like Keith Alsep said yesterday. It's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it seems. They're not that bad, but it was bad. It was bad, and it was
largely due to Mississippi. It started with Mississippi State. It wasn't just them coming out flat. I thought they got punched in the face and were like, "Oh God!" And then offensively, just if you don't have your veterans who are able to say, "Oh, guys, like." Let's go. We can figure this out. If those guys aren't playing the way they should, that's it. So I thought the air just was thrown out of the balloon fast.
Yeah, it was pretty putrid, and we've seen putrid moments this year, and that was another one after largely 3 pretty good basketball games. So they're going to have to wash it. I'll say this too: Mississippi State looked very confident. Hey, hit a lot of what looked like easy buckets. They just made it look easy all night long, and
they played great. They played great. I mean, the Gamecocks did not play well. Like, I'm not sugarcoating that in any sense. They didn't play well. Mississippi State was great. That's why even if Carolina had played okay, they didn't stand much of a chance last night the way Mississippi State was playing.
Yeah, it was ugly. They're going to get another crack at them at home later on in February. But first, it's the Vols who took down Texas A&M last night. Tennessee is up next. By the way, in the net rankings, it didn't hurt Carolina. They only dropped one spot to 98. So I maintain in this 4-game stretch of quad one opportunities, they needed to go 2-2. They're 1-1. So they got a chance against Tennessee coming up on Saturday. And we'll certainly see how well they play. Hopefully a lot of Gamecock fans will go watch them play basketball, just so everybody's aware. If you like basketball games, you only have 5 more opportunities to check them out unless they host an NIT game. And, I was trying to go this weekend. I can't. We have a commitment I didn't know about, but I will be there for the LSU game. So looking forward to that.
It's funny how that happens. Those commitments that you don't know about. Yeah, and if you like college basketball, Tennessee's a hell of a team. So it'll be a good time to go. The Gamecocks could use some type of a home court advantage because Tennessee's playing well. They played better last night than I expected. They did not cover because at the very end of the game, up by 10, they just dribbled out the clock literally under the hoop. I mean, that which is great. I had A&M, so I was all about that. But it was a fun last couple of seconds of that game. They played well. They played better than that final number.
A homecoming of sorts, too, for Charleston's Josiah James. He'll be in Columbia this weekend, and from what I understand, a large contingent from the Low Country will be headed that way to watch him play. So they will be there probably in burnt orange for Tennessee. All right, it is time for a timeout. When we return, JC Shurburtt with the Big Spur. Obviously today, some movement on the Gamecocks football staff. We'll talk about the class as well. How about Jim Harbaugh? Unbelievable. Signing day, and he's off to the NFL, huh?
He's signing.
What's that?
He is signing. We think.
Yeah. Yeah, he is signing. There's no doubt about that. Jim Harbaugh, the top signing classes out there. So a lot to get to. Obviously, yesterday was an enormously busy day in the NFL. The Brian Flores information, the Washington former Redskins have a new name that Aaron is. I will see if he's excited about it. We'll ask him. We'll hold off on asking him right now. And obviously Jim Harbaugh. Yeah, I see you there. All right, time for a timeout. JC Shurburtt will be here in a few minutes. So everybody hang tight. JB and Goldwater Show will be right back.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And two others you probably don't think much about: stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations: Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Hey, South Carolina, what's going on? This is Patrick Davis, and you are listening to my friends JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
JC will be in just a moment. Yeah, you probably could figure out why. It's a busy day for the folks at the Big Spur. In the meantime, today might be one of the great days on the National Days calendar. We all know it's Groundhog Day, and that little rat predicted 6 more weeks of winter this morning. Furry little nugget. But it's also National Tater Tot Day.
Oh.
And I'm a big fan of those. And in addition to all of the ladies in our lives, it is National Women and Girls in Sport Day. So all hail to the ladies. I salute you. Thank you for providing excellent, Gamecock women's basketball. Who's the best female athlete I have? Hey, Meredith Taylor, if you're watching or listening, Meredith. I met a lot of them. Who's the best female athlete I've ever seen? In person, probably Asia Wilson, but I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
It's a good question.
No, I don't know. I met Mia Hamm. She was pretty good.
Yep, I've actually met her as well. And Chastain, Brandy Chastain. I'm trying to think of who the greatest female athlete I've seen play. I've worked with the current Mystics coach, who's the all-time winningest WNBA coach.
Yeah.
And he's a good guy, but he's not a female athlete.
Debbie Antonelli.
Well, she is still currently an athlete.
God, she'll always be an athlete. It's unbelievable. JC is going to put in here in just a minute. Don't go anywhere. Right now, the 2022 overall football team rankings per 24/7 Sports. Bama is at the top. This includes transfers. Remember, Bama is at the top, but the recruiting side of it, Texas A&M is making a case for the best high school class ever, basically right now. They have an average of 94.48 per player. It's amazing. Of course, Bama's is higher, but that might change by the end of the day. So we'll keep our eyes on that. But overall, it's the overall is what we go by, because remember, transfers are now part of your class. Bama, A&M, Georgia, 3 SEC teams at the top, Ohio State. And then there's Texas at 5, Penn State at 6, Notre Dame is at 7, Oklahoma checks in at 8, Southern Cal at 9, and LSU is rounding out the top 10. Michigan, North Carolina, Ole Miss, and Clemson in there at 14. Tigers have a smaller class than most listed above them, with the exception of North Carolina, but it is talented. Missouri right behind them at 15. Florida State at 16. Florida at 17. Kentucky, Arkansas, and Auburn round out the top 20. Miami at 21. Arizona at 22. Michigan State, Tennessee, and Stanford round out the top 25. Everybody goes, whoa, what about Carolina? Well, they have slipped to 26 per the overall rankings currently. And then as far as the transfer rankings goes, I know a lot of people are interested in that with South Carolina. They're currently 7th in the country by 24/7 Sports. You wouldn't be surprised anymore to know who's number 1 and 2 based on recent additions. Southern Cal is 1 and Ole Miss is 2. Because of some quarterbacks and things like that. So it's kind of what it looks like out there if you're following National Signing Day. For South Carolina, not signing any players today, at least that we're aware of to this point, although Shane Beamer's press conference is less than an hour and a half away, but it's largely today going to be, I would guess, about the departures of both Eric King and Conor Shaw from the football program, news that has come this morning. And we will continue to keep our eyes peeled if there is other news that will follow that, Darren, because even JC said earlier on the Big Spur, today might not be over yet as far as changes go. So we'll have to see. Again, I haven't had much more of a chance to dig, but that's the latest.
It'll be followed, right? I mean, it's a good day to have JC on. I think the fact that JC is not on yet should tell you that it is a busy day, and it's not a busy day because of recruiting necessarily, as we've been talking about for a couple of weeks. This wasn't going to be a busy day recruiting-wise. So he's digging around. It'll be interesting to hear what he has to say, what he's been told, the sources that he has, and continue that discussion. I'll continue to sit here and say without facts, and nobody has any facts other than rumors that are floating around. And even with those, I continue to say this program's moving in the right direction. And while there's frustration pent up from where it was, remember how excited everyone has been recently. Maybe this thing is going in the right direction, even though this is not the sign necessarily that you were looking for that.
Speaking of which, there's JC Shurburtt with the BigSpur.com at 12:39 on this Wednesday afternoon. JC, we obviously Shane has a press conference coming up at 2, so we're going to make sure that we are on time and off air today, so we can check into that and get any updates from him. But it's been a busy morning for you, my friend. Welcome to what we're going to call National Signing Day.
Yeah, I think I got up early this morning, maybe spoke too soon, and said this National Signing Day is a ghost ship because there's just one of those things. So that's it's kind of some surprises today. Let's just say that it is not. It has been a day of some upheaval, I guess, with the Gamecock program.
Well, most of this has been under wraps, JC, for the most part. I know there's been some chuckles behind the scene for a while about Conor's future. I think Conor's been pretty clear. He's looking for something that's going to be a little bit, better for his family situation. I think he wants some more free time and things like that. And he's Conor Shaw. He's probably got opportunities being thrown at him left and right. Doesn't mean I love Gamecocks or anything, but this just seems like something that he's decided to do from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, and I'll say this, I think Conor Shaw, when you look at like his career post football, and I'm not going to pretend like I'm like buddies with him or anything like that. I've known him and his family since they were young, and just covering his teams. And but when you look at it, Conor's a guy that he'll coach and then he'll back off for a little while. I think he enjoys being Conor Shaw, and I think he's a guy that's got a lot of talent. Not only if he chose to coach in that direction, but also in the business world. I mean, I think his track record speaks for itself. His position that he had, I'm not going to sit here and spin this and act like it's no big deal, because anytime the winningest quarterback in the history of your program walks out the door, it's not good, just because of who he is and the job he did and the impact he had on lives within the program. But, you kind of look, and he's a guy that, is able to go do different things. And so we all have to be aligned according to our purpose in life. We all have to align ourselves that way. Otherwise, we're miserable no matter what we're doing. I have to do it. You have to do it. Everybody has to do it. And that purpose is defined by the individual. And so if that motivated this move, then he made the right move, because you can't stay in a situation that no longer serves you, or that, you're not completely aligned with. And I have a lot of respect for people that do that. Like Chris Peterson, the head coach at Washington, he decided, hey, this isn't for me anymore. This does not align with my purpose. And he got out and walked away from a good job at Washington, $5 million a year. And they've already replaced his replacement. So maybe he made the right move. But that's kind of how I see the Conor Shaw thing. I hate it because I know for a fact from talking to people, Conor had a big impact on the program. I mean, maybe it wasn't always obvious because it was behind the scenes. I also know that Conor Shaw can coach this game if he so chooses. He comes from a line of coaches that are program builders in the state of Georgia at the high school level that have taken he and his brother and his dad really don't take good jobs. They go take jobs that need love and build them up. So he's the kind of the quintessential Gamecock, and I think that if he ever does want to return to coaching, then more power to him. And I think he'll be successful in life, whatever he wants to do. So that's my take on Conor.
Before we get to Kimmery, let's talk about that role for a minute, JC. I'd like to get you. I don't think you and I have ever actually talked about this on the air or off the air, but I'd like to get your thoughts about it, because it's a role that Marcus used to be in. You've known Marcus a long time. A wonderful human being, wonderful man. We know Conor Shaw is a wonderful person. Two of the great athletes and people ever at the University of South Carolina in any capacity, any sport, anything. But they've both held this title. They've both left for other opportunities in their life. Marcus is in, I think, right around Portland, maybe Oregon. He's out there in the Pacific Northwest with I think it's a D2 or D3 football program and a role there. Conor is, I don't think he's officially said what he's doing next, but he's leaving for, as of now, apparently something outside of football. But the role itself, JC, this is not to this. I hope people don't misunderstand what I'm saying, and I just want to get it all out before I let you comment, so you can tell me whether I'm right or wrong. This director of player development, football operations, whatever, it it almost reminds, it's a well-paid position, but it seems like a position that you just kind of have to have now because everybody has it. It's like these facilities that are being built on campus. I mean, Clemson builds a slide. Gamecocks build a gaming room. Alabama builds a bowling alley. I mean, everybody's got to have something cute to go in there because everybody else has it. And some of the information I've gathered in recent years about these positions that Conor and Marcus have held and other players former players at other schools have held is that although there is value in them, there's not like real value in them to the person holding the position. Like it's almost, it's like, we're going to pay you a lot of money and you're going to be here to, do this and that and do this and do that. But that's kind of it. And, and from what I've gathered, JC, at times, these positions, those that occupy them are in search of more. Like, yeah, I get paid a lot of money and this is cool. But I got to spend a lot of time around here and I don't really know what I'm doing sometimes. And I don't really know what this is going to amount to. And it just seems at times maybe unfulfilling internally for the occupant. In this case, would be Conor Shaw. So what do you know about the role? Because maybe that could help some of us understand a little bit why guys named Marcus Lattimore and Conor Shaw, who've held the role, have decided to leave it.
Differently, every situation is different. With Marcus, what he was doing was much more like what Derek Moore does. And then Conor comes in, he was doing sort of what Derek Moore does. And then Conor's role sort of got split between doing what Derek does and then also being the alumni liaison, which lots of programs need that. Mike Peterson, actually, part of his duties at Florida are to be that. I think with Marcus, was Marcus super duper fired up to be there under Muschamp and in that type of environment finally at the end? I think it's safe to say no. And I don't think it had anything to do with Will Muschamp personally. I think it was just kind of the state of the program. And Marcus is a deep thinker and a deep feeler. And Marcus's life is about beyond football. And I think that he and his wife had the opportunity to go do that. I'll be honest, I had a conversation with Marcus probably about a year before he left, and he was talking about getting a master's in writing that he wanted to write. And there were just other things in his life you could tell that after football went away, that he was kind of looking to do. And he's gone and done it. And that's fine. With Conor specifically, I think that, like you said, when you look at the different roles he's had, and he's had three of them, guys. I mean, people forget he was the quarterbacks coach for 3 games in 2020.
Right.
Maybe it's time. Maybe he kind of wants to go pursue something else. Maybe he wasn't happy, in the current situation. I know that there was probably no issues with Shane Beamer. I know there's speculation about relationships with Marcus Satterfield. I think in a lot of ways that's kind of gotten overblown just because of maybe some things that were going on in the program a couple of months ago. And I think it's easy when, you're like 90% of the fans that want to change an offensive coordinator to sit there and pile on and every little thing that goes wrong, blame the OC or that you think's going wrong. And I don't know that that's something we should all jump on right now at all. I think that, when you sit there as a fan or a person with a vested interest in this program, and you literally have quotes from Conor Shaw and information from Eric Kimmery as to why they're leaving, and you say, no, it's because of Marcus Satterfield, you're calling those guys liars. And those guys, quite frankly, if you're a Gamecock, those guys are Gamecocks, and they gave a lot in their job, a lot to the program, helped them win games this year. And before that, Shaw, helped impact lives within the program. And so it's completely unfair, in my opinion, to just sit there and kind of, act like they're lying. I mean, and like I said, it's not, it's something that, I guess people can speculate about. I can tell you this, there was no issue with Shane Beamer. There's no issue with the culture of the program. I can't say that about when Marcus left, because it kind of depends on how you define culture and environment and things like that as to why exactly Marcus decided to leave when he did. But I'll tell you, with these guys, point blank, the overall big picture of the program, I mean, there was no ill feelings about the direction under Shane Beamer or how Shane Beamer runs the program at all. And, as far as the offensive coordinator goes, I think whenever you have a polarizing, and we know it's polarizing topic like that, the tendency is to freak out and, try to pile on. And I don't think that's healthy or wise either, because like I said, what you're doing is when you sit there and try to just claim that what these guys are saying is BS, you're telling two former quarterbacks in South Carolina that, one won a lot of games, one won very important game. They're lying and they're liars. And to me, that's not fair at all.
Yeah, look, I would totally agree with that. 12:50 on a Wednesday afternoon. And JC, these conversations, although we would be having them today, would not be as sensitive or conversational, to be honest with you. They wouldn't be front and center of our topics if they weren't Gamecock guys. I mean, these are homegrown dudes. Eric Kimry played at South Carolina. Conor Shaw played at South Carolina, and that plays or adds some weight to the conversation, JC. Makes it a little bit heavier than if it would have just been some guy that Shane Beamer brought in from the outside to fill that role for Conor. As Darren pointed out earlier, if this happened today at Vanderbilt or at Arkansas or something, we wouldn't be talking about this.
Even blink, yeah.
No, this wouldn't be this wouldn't even be on our radar, but it is because it's South Carolina and that's what we cover. But it's Conor Shaw and Eric Kimry, and both of these guys have been very public in saying before, publicly and privately, that They this is their dream place. They love being at South Carolina. They love working with Shane and yada yada yada. Kimry is certainly something that I think has caught some attention. He's an on-field coach, and he's not leaving for another job, and he hadn't been fired. He's leaving for a high school job in the state of Tennessee. JC, yeah. I think that's why some people's heads are swirling there.
Yeah, well, it's the state of Tennessee, and but it's Chattanooga. That's a nice place. I mean, I don't know if anybody's been there in a while. I mean, it's a lot like a little Greenville in the mountains.
I love
it. Baylor School. I want everybody out there before any, and I told this to people on our board, my message board. Before you comment and say high school job, or go high school job, SEC job, before you comment like that, go look at the website and see what the Baylor School actually is. Now, not everybody's going to know that. South Carolina hadn't recruited very many people out of the Baylor School, but they're a powerhouse traditionally.
Might now.
In Chattanooga, they recruit players to come to Baylor to play. So it's more like a small college, to be honest with you. Kimry's boss, who happens to be his best friend at Hammond School, is now the headmaster at Baylor School. So there is a big connection there, and a great friend of his. It's probably one of the best football high school programs in Tennessee because of the resources they have and all that they can do. So it's not like he's walking out the door going to Dutch Fork, or it's not like he's going up the road to Burns, or even Independence, or even like South Lake Carroll in Texas, one of the big Texas schools, or modern day. Any of these schools, it's not the same kind of deal as coaching at the Baylor School or a place like that. It's probably more similar to coaching at IMG, even though Baylor is more geared toward academics and IMG is more geared towards sports. So, and I don't think anybody, if you see the college coaches that go to IMG to coach, nobody's saying anything about that. I mean, if you're the tight ends coach at wherever, and you're making X, and IMG calls, they're going to make you the head coach, and you're making Y, and you're moving into a state that has no state income tax, which Florida has and Tennessee doesn't have, and you can help your family out, that's fine too. And here's the other thing. I have confirmed, and I'll say this according to multiple sources, Kimry was not being demoted. He was not being fired. He was not asked to look for a job. He had a spot on the team or a spot on the coaching staff, coaching tight ends next year if he wanted. So he did not. There was nothing like that took place either. And that's the thing. I think, kind of just like people have to get through team recruiting rankings these days because of the portal and the different dynamics. But people got to get over this. He left for a high school job. You look at Eric Kimrey's salary at Carolina was public knowledge. I'm not telling you something he told me. He was making $200,000 a year. That's on the low end of staff pay. So a high school with the resources Baylor has could probably do a little better than that, to be honest. And South Carolina could have done better than that. But this is something that he wanted to do. I don't think he was unhappy coaching at Carolina. It's a school. But, one thing to keep in mind as well with this is, unlike high school coaching, which, the job at Baylor, you do have to win or you're going to get fired. But assistant coaches in college, man, I mean, that is not something.
He just freeze up again.
I believe so.
He did. It's all that snow that he's getting out there in Chicago.
Yeah. We'll have to work on that. 12:56 on this.
I'll tell you this until we get JC back in. If anyone's ever really looked hard into rosters, and the only reason I have is because just prepping for games in the past, right? For the last 10 years or whatever, from all levels, D2 up to some of the lower levels of D1, in multiple sports. This is not just football. When you see a roster, especially if you're in the Southeast, there's probably a kid from the Baylor school on that roster. I have written Baylor school on a prep board maybe more than any other school I've written. And that's not even exaggeration. That's the type of school that is.
I don't have all the details like you do. I mean, I'm aware of the Baylor school. And especially now that we've been talking about it, I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay. There's Ashley. I live in the Chattanooga area. Baylor's absolutely legit. Coaching at Baylor is more prestigious than many collegiate jobs. And, again, what we're going to do in just a second, by the way, is we're going to just hit a timeout and we'll work on this during the break and we'll get him back. But again, it's irresponsible for you or I or JC to get on here and say anything along the lines of he left because of blank, because we don't know. We don't know. We really don't know. And if I do know, and it's something that can be said, I'll say it. But we don't know that. I will also say this, though. We've talked about this before, and nobody's going to understand this. I don't understand it because I'm not a coach, but we've talked about it, so I'm going to bring it back up. Nobody on this chat room is going to understand it either because none of you are college coaches. But it has changed. And there are coaches, and maybe Eric Kimrey is one of them, I'm just throwing it out there, who might say, I can make similar money or the same amount of money and not have to work 12, 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 360 days a year. Maybe I just want to do something else in my life and spend time with my kids and move up to a place we haven't been, to a prestigious school, in time in the mountains. Maybe that's just what he wants to do. I don't know. Does it look good? I think I saw Clint earlier. No matter how good it doesn't look good. No matter how good it is, whatever. He's leaving an SEC school job. SEC jobs, when you're a parent like Eric Kimrey, might not be as appealing as they once were. They just might not be. I mean, every day, every moment is a grind, and it just might not be what he wants to do. I don't know. I can't speak for him. I'm not a college coach, but I do have little kids, and I know if I had an opportunity to make $250,000 a year as a college baseball coach at the University of South Carolina, which is so near and dear to my heart, it's where I went in the whole 9 yards, and had the opportunity to make the same amount of money and work about a third of that and spend more time with my little girls, I think I'd probably do it as much as I love the school. So maybe that is where it is. I don't know. I'm not defending. I'm just throwing other things out there. So let's take a time out. We'll get JC fixed up. We'll get him right back in here on the other side of the break on the JB and Goldwater Show. Right here in our backyard is Motley Rice LLC. a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and two others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. And we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the National Anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour here, which means we're also less than an hour from Shane Beamer's much anticipated press conference here at 2 o'clock on National Signing Day. He will be introducing Sterling Lucas. I don't think that's what everybody's going to be tuned in for, though. So we'll keep our eyes on that. JBandGoldwaterShow.com. Follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, individually at Sports Media JB. And at Darren Goldwater. Real quick, JC, before we move forward, I do want to point out that there were, according to one Hale McGranahan, a couple of players added to the roster today, several walk-ons, and some interesting names here. Jack Luckhurst, a kicker transferring from Arizona State. East Tennessee State running back DJ Twitty. Any relation to Conway? Need to find that out. Alabama linebacker Colin Bryant. Noah Abrams, a defensive back from Powder Springs, Georgia, Hillgrove High School, is also with the team. I'm just reading from the website, so I'm sure y'all love that. So the Bryant kid, though, is a familiar name to me, and I know why, because he was a Wando Warrior, and he was a walk-on at Bama as a tight end, I believe. So he's coming back to the great state of South Carolina. He'll be a Gamecock moving forward.
Yeah, I think so. And Luckhurst is interesting to me because Mick Luckhurst. If you're an old Falcons fan, you remember Mick Luckhurst, right? And his other son's on the soccer team in South Carolina. So I thought that was good. Twitty's a Chapman High School guy. I guess they call it the Debo Pipeline. They got another walk-on from Chapman, DJ Chalk. He was at East Tennessee State. Didn't really do much up there, but he can come in and do it. But I'm very impressed with the walk-on program they've got going right now. I think they do a good job of getting some guys that, may have gone to even lower level group of 5 schools, FCS schools, certainly. And some of those guys, especially from the state of South Carolina, end up in the NFL. So you never know what you're going to get. I know that Beamer, his dad at Virginia Tech, had a great walk-on program, very in-state focused. So, kind of it was a good thing to see those guys come in today and all the other walk-ons that they have got. And I think it makes total sense what they're doing. And not that Will Muschamp and especially Steve Spurrier, my goodness, he had walk-ons playing all the time during his tenure, but not that they didn't have good programs, but it was a little less organized and less systematic than this one. And one thing I do know about Virginia Tech and Frank, his dad, when he was head coach there, Frank was really involved in the evaluation process, and he would write a scouting report on every player they signed and every walk-on they brought in. He put it in a file cabinet. It was just part of kind of his genius and how he built the program, and it worked out for them pretty well. So that's kind of what I think the idea is here.
Yeah, and remember, they've signed Lil Turbo. So Lil Turbo is going to be is that what's going to be on the back of his uniform? Is it going to be Lil Turbo?
Lil Turbo? I don't know, man. That guy, though, he is fast. He is fast.
Yeah, I mean, look, how did we recruit? Let's see. We're flying around in choppers. You got Eli, I think, up there in Missouri driving a dump truck or something to some cat's house. What did Shane fly out of NASA to go recruit Lil Turbo?
Let me tell you, every time I hear that nickname, I think of Sonic the Hedgehog. So build one of those ramps and have something like running with like wheels as legs around those ramps.
Lil Turbo. He's got an NIL deal somewhere, right?
Video game. Yeah, from what I hear, he probably will. So, and that's about all I can say about it.
He's maybe a motorcycle company. You're going to sit on one of those crotch rockets. You call him Lil Turbo. This is Lil Turbo. Anyways. All right. JC, I believe it or not, they're actually, signing players and classes and stuff like that. I do want to talk to you about that in a minute. And I do also want to talk to you about all these former coaches who all of a sudden are on staff at Alabama. It's amazing. But, I do think too, I mean, as in as you are with the college football universe, the coaches, the agents, the players, I mean, you've watched this evolve unbelievably over the last 20 years. And in particular, the last couple of years, it's changed more than I think we ever thought it really could. And now, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, these guys have been very vocal. And I think that, Saban said it again yesterday. He was talking about NIL, and people need to listen and stop listening to the national media. There's a lot of national media out there that have their own narratives, and they're wrong. They're bad. Guys like Nick Saban are good for football, and they need to listen to them. But one of the things that Kirby Smart has said in recent weeks, JC, is that, and I'm tying this into Eric Kimry here because we've been having the conversation, is that the sport may be headed down a bad road, and that there are good people getting in and getting out, maybe going to the NFL, going to do other things. And I don't know. I'm not speaking for EK. I don't know. At some point in time, I'll reach out and see how he's doing. But that could be the case here. I mean, he could have gotten in and realized, I got kids, I got a wife, I can make similar money and not have to do this for 12 hours a day, 365 days a year. And, maybe that's what tilted him in the other direction. I don't know, but I'm asking you for more detail and just how the game has evolved and why this maybe could have affected Eric Kimmery and his decision to step away from the SEC in South Carolina.
I don't know about all that. I think you're going to see some coaches step away from it, though, more than you normally did. Like I said, I think that, and I want people to realize here, I'm not saying that, it was all sunshine and rainbows and everything was fine. And Kimmery was hunky-dory, Baylor came along and, I think I want to go coach there. I mean, if you look at the facts, which some people are refusing to do, it is a good opportunity, and it is comparable to being, a tight ends coach in the SEC. I mean, look, you don't know. What if Shane Beamer goes 2-10 next year and 3-9 the next and gets fired?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody thought Bobby Bentley was going to get retained, and he didn't. So there are considerations when you go into college coaching, and when you haven't done that for 20-something years in your career, and you finally do, sometimes it's eye-opening. Now, I don't want that to sound at all like I think Kimmery was over his head or not doing a good job, because the guy did. You look at his players. Trey Kenyon's playing now. Nobody thought he would. Jaheim Bell got straightened out and ready to go. Nick Muse had a improved year. I don't know that they used him a lot like they should have, but he got up there and gave it his all to the very end, and he didn't really have to. So I think Eric did a fantastic job, but these are not robots. These are human beings. Players are humans. Eric Kimmery is a human. He's not a cyborg that can throw the fade over and over again. And this is a very human decision, look, like I said, I'm just not about to sit here and say he and Conor Shaw are lying about leaving the program, with their stated reasons. This is not rumor. These are stated reasons. And the other thing is like this, I understand the desire to have a new offensive coordinator there. I think we all share that desire, right? And I think there's a lot of us that do, but not everything is about that topic. And it's kind of sad that everything has become about that topic. And that's not, that's not good. And I think, what bothers me about those two leaving is simply that, they're Gamecocks and they will be missed because they both did a really good job. You don't know if whoever replaces them is going to be good. Steve Spurrier replaced a lot of coaches when he was at South Carolina, and there was a round of them that worked well and then a round that were disasters. So, you just don't know. Beamer's really good at hiring coaches, but you don't know if he's going to, who he's going to hire. And then once he does, what kind of job they're going to do. And so for that reason, it bothers me. It bothers me for both of those guys that, they've been, they're known around this program, and now they're going away. And I think that's a hit. That's something that's not positive for any program when that happens.
Do you think because Coach Beamer is going to address the media in 45 minutes or so, I'm speculating here, JC, but it seems to me that this is something that he's been preparing for. I mean, it came out on National Signing Day, and he's known that he's going to have a press conference on National Signing Day. Do you think that there is a chance that specific to Eric Kimmery's role, it could be promoted from within? Or do you think that this is something that Shane is going to look to add from the outside?
Can I just say I hope not? I would hope he would go and, maybe try to hire Eric's predecessor to come back, which he probably should have.
Are you speaking about Bobby Bentley?
Yeah, I was pretty clear that he should have kept him to begin with, but I understand why that didn't happen.
Bobby, by the way, for those that don't know, is the co-offensive coordinator at South Florida.
South Florida right now, but that's where I would look first. Because I think with that role, being a former high school coach in the state and all that, it just makes sense. If not, are there guys on staff they could promote? Absolutely. There's one in particular I'd love to see get a full-time on-the-field job. But I would look first towards Tampa if I were Shane, but he's not going to listen to me, right?
He's listened to you before.
I see a lot of value in bringing Bobby back, in my opinion, and I think, quite frankly, when you look at everybody that was retained off that staff, all of them have gone. They're out the door. Some of them within weeks. And probably he should have been the first one. But I'm not about telling Shane Beamer how to do his job. If that was the case, there'd obviously be a new offensive coordinator. So
Bobby Bentley, though, was not retained by Shane Beamer. And I want to make sure that everybody understands that this is JC and I are speaking. This conversation is very much hypothetical. We have no, at least that I don't know about you. I'm speaking to myself. I have no inside knowledge of what Shane is planning to do to fill up here at Kimry. But how do you think that would be received by Bobby Bentley, knowing that a guy who, he's known for a long time, didn't retain him last year, is calling him back saying, hey, I think I do need you?
I have a sneaky suspicion that there'd be some interest there. I mean, you just think about sometimes coaches that have, and hey, you never know. Eric Kimry may be back in the state after a year. When you live in South Carolina for so long, it gets in your blood. And, I do think that when Bobby left, I feel like there was some uncertainty, or I don't know, not uncertainty. There was some unfinished business. How about that? And South Carolina was his first full-time assistant coaching gig. The guy put a ton into it. I mean, if anybody knows him, they know he doesn't do anything halfway. Yeah. And so I would imagine that, that would be the attractive part of it. It's coming home, coming back home and maybe picking up where you left off, because obviously things went south with Muschamp and that tenure. But, it's a new day. And, like Brad Lawing was there for 5 years under Sparky, 5 under Brad Scott, and left, and then Spurrier brought him back. So there is precedent there for some of these guys coming back to Columbia.
Yeah, I mean, and Shane has made it very clear over the last year plus that he wants to hire staff members who can recruit. Bobby's a great recruiter. For anybody that's seen his record at South Carolina, a lot of football players who've turned out to be, maybe they didn't necessarily pop off the page on signing day, but they certainly have since. And so that's something that is a positive in his corner as well. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait and see what Shane has to say today. I know who it won't be. It won't be Joe Brady. And Joe Brady is going to the Buffalo Bills as their quarterbacks coach. So anybody that thought that he might be making his way down here, it's not happening. He's going somewhere much, much colder, JC.
Yeah, and that's another thing. There's a lot of rumors about that out there. So whoever kept that rumor alive obviously didn't read some of the articles about Joe Brady after he left the Panthers.
Yeah, exactly. 1:18 on a Wednesday afternoon. JC Shurburtt with the BigSpur.com joining us. All right, JC, so let's talk about the class. The Gamecocks, according to 24/7 Sports, have slipped outside of the top 25 team rankings. Those are the overall rankings. They're 7th in the country in the transfer rankings. They are 25th in the country in just the recruiting rankings and the overall rankings. When you combine those two, they check in at number 26. That's what I go by because that's your whole class. And seemingly at the bottom of the SEC, because everybody in the SEC has somehow jumped ahead of them. But I would like to also caution folks, as you say from time to time, 10 and 25 don't have much of a difference, JC. But now that this class is, they're not filling it, looks like those additional 2 scholarships. So summarize the class in its entirety and what happens to those 2 availables.
I think they hold and see who maybe goes in the portal later after spring ball or whatever, or maybe here in a couple of weeks. I think with the high school class, a lot of developmental guys, and there's kind of a, the bad news is it's not ranked very high, whatever. And that's all I got to say about that. And then the good news is there's a lot of guys with high upside in terms of potential. You look at a guy like Nick Emenware, 6'3", 208, safety linebacker, arms like a helicopter, can cover, he can tackle. If he's not gonna be able to play next year, right? He's not gonna be ready. So that doesn't mean he's not gonna be good. Demetrius Watson from down there where you guys are at Fort Dorchester, kind of a raw defensive tackle, is going to need some development, but he's 6'3", 285. He runs 4.69. Probably the biggest development guy of them all, Kylie Horton, played 8-man football, but he's 6'4", 190 and runs a 4.45 and balled out at Clemson's camp, South Carolina's camp, Virginia Tech's camp. So that's the take on the high school. Now, so the bad news is the ranking's not as high as maybe it could be now. It's a top 25 class. It's just not high in the SEC. The SEC is having a banner year. The good news is, unlike some previous high school classes that, you're sitting there going, this guy's going to have to start or be in the 2 deep or whatever. They've got so many guys coming back. You don't have to count on them. Maybe a Keenan Nelson Jr., an Anthony Rose, or a Peyton Williams steps into the 2 deep at safety. Maybe a corner steps in and plays some if he's good enough, better than what they've got. Defensive end, there's a chance for a guy or two to pop in. Maybe not, maybe so. But there's a bunch of D tackles in this class. They're deep there. 3 offensive linemen are upside guys, that are going to need to redshirt. The one guy I do think will play is Landon Sampson, the wide receiver from Texas they have coming in, because he's just a high floor guy. But that's the good news. And then the even better news is the 7 guys they got out of the portal. I'd be surprised if at least 6 aren't starters. They're that good. And if you don't believe me, folks, go look at the school South Carolina beat on these kids. I mean, they beat Ohio State straight up on Austin Stogger.
Mm-hmm.
How many times does South Carolina beat Ohio State on a kid? And you can say, yeah, but Beamer's relationship's the one that got that. So who cares? They got the player. It doesn't matter how. You can go through. Christian Bill Smith had national offers. Antoine Wells had Texas, North Carolina, Florida, Tennessee. The list goes on and on and on. And so those 7 guys, which when you bring in a recruiting class, normally, if you got 7 guys that can come in and start, that's a hell of a class. But with the portal, you're still getting those starters, but then you have the luxury of having a developmental type class that you can wait a year or 2 on. And I said 7 starters, guys. I'm not predicting that Terrell Dawkins or Christian Bill Smith. So I meant 5. Dawkins, he's in the mix with Birch and Strong, obviously, at end. And then Christian Bill Smith, it's far from a sure thing that he starts over Marshawn Lloyd, Rashad Amos, Juju McDowell, Lavoisier Carroll, those guys. I mean, I may have been a little over on my prediction there.
Oh, I thought you were saying Rattler was the one who wasn't going to start.
Look, he's got to earn the job, man. But I mean, like if Luke Doty all of a sudden becomes Superman, or Colton Gauthier becomes Tom Brady when he took over for Drew Bledsoe, I don't see it. I don't see and it's not necessarily that. When I watched Spencer Rattler as a recruit, I'll be honest, I thought the guy was really good. I thought he was an elite quarterback. People were talking about like the next Kyler Murray. I was like, well, he's 3 inches taller than Kyler. And but they're like, oh yeah, that's who he is. And that was the year Kyler Murray was really good. I thought that was a little overblown. I thought he had work to do. But I look at his skill set and see how he throws the football and how he moves around in the pocket and how he commands an offense. And then I've seen what's happened. and let's just say there's a gap there. And so I do believe that he'll be the starter. And I think, look, man, I just think I think they'll be fine. I think today is unfortunate with the overreaction, quite frankly, because I do think this is a good recruiting effort, and it's not quite over. And but I think there's some overreaction there.
124 on a Wednesday afternoon, JC. Not really much I know there's some announcements being made out there today. It's what's happened in February over the last few years. Signing day has gotten a little bit lighter than it used to be, certainly. But Gamecocks right now have the 26th overall class. They had the 4th best class in the SEC per transfer rankings. But overall, it's just if you're a big rankings fan, it is ranked as the 12th best class in the league. But again, JC, as you've pointed out multiple times over the last few weeks, multiple starters are coming in right now, which generally in recruiting classes that is not the case. Carolina is going to have maybe a quarter of their starting lineup next year coming out of these guys who've signed. Elsewhere, though, across the country, there are some interesting other little nuggets that I wanted to get to with you here. And if you have to interrupt us for any reason at all, I know that Shane is 30 minutes away from his press conference.
Sure.
So, they're keep our eyes peeled for news and things of that nature. But fascinating to see what has happened with former coaches on this staff today, officially being announced by the University of Alabama that Coleman Hutzler, T-Rob, and Eric Wolford are now all on staff. Wolf, though, a wild story yesterday that surfaced. I read it on footballscoop.com. I believe it was initially reported by Kentucky Sports Radio. And that was that Eric Wolford left to recruit for Kentucky and never returned to Lexington. He was off seeing an offensive lineman who he basically took off his blue for his crimson, and proceeded to recruit him to Alabama when the young man thought that he was walking in the door to recruit him to play for the Wildcats. Not sure if you've heard anything else on that story, but just the point, though, you've got BMAC. He's now left. He went to Miami. Now he's left Miami. He's going to Georgia. Mike Bobo back to Georgia. We know that that's where Muschamp is. Alabama now has 3 former coaches from the University of South Carolina. I mean, the whole staff is on staff with the 2 teams that played in the national championship. It's amazing how things have changed.
Yeah, I actually was having a conversation with somebody about that the other day, and we were just kind of laughing about it. And I think this is the thing about it. The Muschamp staff had a lot of good coaches, right? I think there were a lot of good coaches on that staff. Were they miscast a little bit? Would I, if I were the recruiting coordinator at Georgia, trust Brian McClendon to go evaluate a bunch of receivers? No. I think he's a better running backs coach, to be honest with you, and better at evaluating that position. Although Des Kitchings is really stellar in that too. I think they're probably miscast a little bit. I mean, I think Coleman Hutzler, for example, is a great special teams coach in terms of coaching the teams. Kind of a guru, to be honest with you. The problem with Hutzler is, I think, in recruiting, he needs to have a different logo on his shirt, because he was kind of like the bridesmaid. He would always catch the bouquet and always finish second. And that matters when you're recruiting. You can be the best recruiter in the world, but you're going to lose battles sometimes to brands. That's just kind of what happens. Will Muschamp, obviously, as a co-D coordinator, had a lot to do with Georgia's defense. Don't buy the Dan Lanning stuff.
No, I don't.
I mean,
we talk about that a lot around here.
I think there's a reason Dan Lanning, everybody's like, don't you want to hire Dan Lanning? Oklahoma, don't you want to hire him? Look at his defense, Yeah. I thought Will did a really good job coaching down there. I think he's going to be a really good recruiter for them. As he's always been. And Travaris Robinson, here's the thing about Alabama. He's going to have to go recruit. I don't know that he always did his best at that, but I think coaching up players individually at the cornerback position, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. And then Eric Wolford, to me, has been a guy that's deserved an opportunity like this at a no doubt knock 'em down blue blood school for a long, long time. I am fascinated to see what kind of offensive line he can put together with that script A on his shirt going and recruiting. And I think he'll do a terrific job getting the best of the best into that program. So, there are different guys, and that maybe at South Carolina, they were not cast in the roles that maybe set them up for success. But elsewhere, I think they're certainly worthy, and they'll prove to be worthy. Mike Bobo is an analyst at Georgia. To me, he's had a rough go of it. It's his alma mater. He's probably got an offset with his Auburn contract where he can't go take a job making that much money and not going to give his Auburn money. But if you're Kirby Smart, it's just like having Muschamp there as an analyst. If Todd Monken leaves and goes to the NFL, you have your guy. And he's a Georgia Bulldog. And certainly if you're a Georgia Bulldog, it's a good time to be in Athens. So I have a lot of respect for all those guys that were coaching, including Will Muschamp, quite frankly. And I think it's interesting that half that staff is now at Bama or Georgia, but that's one of the things we'll look back on, and we'll probably all realize that it's not necessarily always about resume, but about fit when you're talking about what makes a successful coaching hire and a coaching staff.
Good to go. 1:30 on a Wednesday afternoon, JC. Final one here. A lot of changes we start to see post signing day, right? This is not something that's new to the football universe. I just kind of based on hearsay, Darren and I had a conversation with somebody the other day, as a matter of fact, off the air, that maybe there's some potential still for major movement at Auburn. They've obviously had some issues hanging on to coordinators down there, but they might be growing quickly tired on the plains of their head coach not being able to keep things together. And let's just be honest, not winning games, even though he's only been there for 1 year. Brian Harsin, I don't think is exactly the perfect fit for some of the folks that we know in that neck of the woods. JC, you've been around Auburn a long time. It's a village, certainly, and you either fit in or you don't. So what do you think the future looks like there with the Tigers? And a pretty good signing class, but still having a tough time keeping coordinators on staff.
The Austin Davis thing was weird to me because he's from the South and kind of was coming home in Seattle. He says he's resigning for family. That's fine. To me, that should cause a meltdown, though. not what's happening in South Carolina right now. Maybe the Gamecocks were looking at the Auburn board and just felt like this is what we should do when a coach leaves, But that surprised me. Derek Mason leaving. I sort of felt like after Derek Mason got COVID in the preseason and was actually sick with it, even though he's vaccinated, and then he hears Harsin go on and say, "I'm not going to talk about vaccinations," and I'm anti this. I kind of felt like, because Derek Mason released a statement after that, which was kind of unprecedented. It sort of talked over what Harsin was saying and was like, "Please get vaccinated." I kind of felt like that was coming to an end quickly. And then if you notice, when the story started breaking about Derek Mason interviewing at Oklahoma State, there was a quick departure. I mean, it was almost like he was fired, we're parting ways, and then he wasn't hired till later. Mm-hmm. Bobo didn't run Bobo's offense at Auburn. He ran Harsin's. There were some, anytime that's a situation, it most of the time doesn't work out when you got an offensive-minded coach trying to hire a coordinator. But that's kind of what Auburn does. I mean, Auburn's people, love to sit there and hire coaches and then go, well, you need to hire this guy on your staff. It happened with Gene Chizik. It happened with Malzahn. They kind of have the staff ready to go before the head coach walks in the door. And when you're hiring somebody from Boise, that's different, completely different situation, that's done it a certain way, you probably should just lean on him. Mm-hmm. I keep hearing from people that Harsin just may get fired, like right now, after signing day. I don't think I'd be completely jaw-droppingly shocked if that happened. I'd be a little surprised because I don't think it's best to throw Auburn football into more chaos. But, stranger things have happened. And after February 1st, as far as the transfer portal goes, you can go in the portal, but the SEC bylaws state you cannot go to another SEC program. So they don't really risk losing guys to Alabama or Auburn Alabama or Georgia or anybody like that if they do make a change. So, we'll see what happens. But that's a reason to melt down, in my opinion. If you're Auburn, South Carolina, I mean, look, it's tough and it's emotional because these people leaving are Gamecocks, but ultimately the tight ends coach left, and a guy that wasn't even involved in the actual coaching of the team. He was a player development guy. That's all that's left. Now, I'm sorry that it's Conor Shaw and Eric Henry, but the house isn't burning down. I mean, nobody reacted this way when Pat Washington left. Did they?
Yeah. Nope.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what I was saying at the beginning of the show.
Yeah. Again, it carries the water because it's known name, it's notable names, former Gamecocks, and so we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what reasonings come out behind these from Shane Beamer maybe today, and then certainly from Eric and Connor in the future. JC, before we let you run, anything? I mean, we know right now everything is quite notable at the BigBird.com. Kind of a busy time. A busy day, busy week, certainly. But what are we looking for there? Obviously, you'll be covering the PC coming up in just a little bit. But in addition to that,
gonna track some recruits. Basketball, obviously. I mean, I hated that football's melting down the board today because I kind of expected a basketball meltdown. Apathy set in. I'll tell Gamecock fans this about basketball, though. It's a good Saturday to just say, all right, we're gonna be like Braveheart and be like the Scots here, and we're gonna give it all we've got. It's a nationally televised game on CBS against Tennessee. Everybody loves beating Tennessee. Everybody loves beating Rick Barnes. Chance for a Q1 win. If they win that one, the season's not over. I mean, I don't know that it's completely over if they lose, but it gets really dicey as far as the NCAA tournament. But despite last night's debacle, they beat Tennessee, and then you take your shot at Kentucky, then you may win. You've beaten Kentucky before. It's not like it's unprecedented. This team's back on track. And I hate that this group is so up and down, because they are. And that's not Frank Martin, really. Unfortunately, his teams have been a bit inconsistent in the last few years. But it's a good Saturday if you're not doing anything or if you care about Gamecock basketball to just go buy a ticket and show up and, make it look good on TV, because even if you hate Frank Martin, and I know some of them do, and you want a coaching change, these empty seats on television don't help the program. It's not going to help you attract a new coach. I mean, this job has gone from promising with potential to one of the worst in the country, even with a Final Four, because of apathy. Now, there's a lot of apathy to spread around. I mean, it's not just fans. Mm-hmm. So if you care about the future of Gamecock basketball, and if you don't, that's fine too. Some people don't care about basketball. Some people just care about the women's and not the men's. That's fine too. If you want to go to one game and not the other, it's a free country. But if you do care, it's probably a good weekend to show up because, that national television audience, you're not on the SEC Network Plus or whatever. You're on CBS, home of March Madness. That music's going to be playing. And you're playing the Vols and Rick Barnes. I mean, what better? Oh, it's unbelievable, baby. Come to the CLA. Oh, I love Dick Vitale. And I wish Dick Vitale, by the way, who's a great human being, a speedy recovery as he goes through his cancer treatment. I should mention that if I'm going to do his voice.
You do know that he works for ESPN, right?
Dickie V?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you were talking about CBS. I just want to.
Yeah, but when you think about college basketball, you think about that music because that's the March Madness music, and then what's the next thing you think? Oh, unbelievable, baby! Oh,
yeah,
it's the crazy. Remember he did the game in '97 when Carolina beat Kentucky.
Beat them, yeah.
I was there. Rogers was there. Sterling Sharp was there. Darius Ruckers. Oh, look, it's Darius Rucker. Unbelievable, baby. Oh, Big George Rogers. Oh.
Yeah. Well, it was the Hootie Boys back then. That was before Darius started doing his own. All the Hootie Boys.
Yeah, it's Hootie and the Blowfield. Yeah, Sonefield, all this.
Well, now when I think of CBS, I think of Raftery, and he in that little whatever he kind of spazzes out about after they tip off every time.
Yeah, I like that too, man.
I like Raftery. He's good.
I love the. I wish I could find the call of there's a YouTube broadcast of the Final Four game South Carolina played, and it's Brad Nessler and Dick Vitale calling it for ESPN Radio, and it's amazing. Dickie V respond, look at the fans, they're unbelievable, the Gamecocks, baby. But then I often wish I could get the Raftery and Nance broadcast because I was at the game, so I missed it.
Yeah.
And I hate that I missed that.
Well, that's okay, JC. We'll find it. Darren will put in a request. He's worked for CBS for years. He knows somebody who knows somebody. We'll find it. Darren,
JC works for him now. I don't. 24/7's owned by him.
Yeah, y'all don't knock on my door. Y'all have way more pull than I do on that side of the fence. So figure it out. All right, man. Good stuff. We'll run on that note, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. I know that we'll be on this call with Shane in about 20 minutes and see what he's got to say. Gamecocks obviously signing a pretty good class this year. And certainly a turnaround class from last year. There's no doubt about that. He will announce Sterling Lucas today, and we'll see what he can address as it pertains to Conor Shaw and Eric Kimry and their departure program. The BigSpur.com has you completely covered. And if JC is working like he is now with the one computer and then talking to us in the other, I can only imagine what Tony and Hale are going through, John Whittle, right now on the other side of things. So keep it to BigSpur.com for more information. Talk soon, brother. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks so much.
There you go. JC Shurburtt, owner of the BigSpur.com. All right, 1:40 Wednesday afternoon. It is signing day. We'll hit a timeout, but do you remember signing day of 2016 in Michigan?
It's not
Tom Brady,
but I bet if you remind me,
Tom Brady, Derek Jeter, all these rappers and alumni. They did this big shebang. They put it on TV.
Rings a bell.
This year on signing day, Harbaugh's taking off from Minnesota.
Signing. He is signing.
It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. We'll get into that and more when we return.
Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right. We take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle, and we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. for all your football, college, and NFL. The Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
You were listening to the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online.
All right, 1:45 Wednesday afternoon, National Signing Day. Welcome back to the J and Goldwater Show. It has been, though, largely about South Carolina and what is leaving. But leaving some of that behind, Shane Beamer is coming up in just a little bit. Not more we can really say on it around here. We'll see what happens. Up at Clemson real quick, a couple of hires announced by Coach Sweeney today. John Grass has been named special assistant to the offense. Jody Evans has been named assistant director of football operations. Previously a grad assistant, Carter Thompson, has been named a defensive analyst, and also previously a graduate assistant, former player Tyrone Crowder is now the offensive player in charge of offensive player development. Dennis Love has been named the assistant strength and conditioning coach as well. Grad assistant additions, some familiar names here: Stephon Anthony, Corey Crawford, Brandon Thomas, all former players for the Tigers, and a multitude of title changes, and it would take me the rest of the show to go through those. Same guys: Thomas Alston, Tyler Grisham, Mike Reed, all these guys that we've known about, just different titles. You can go look that up. But and some changes in salary as well. The most notable is Mike Reed will now make $750,000 a year, and he is also the assistant head coach of the football program, Dabo Sweeney. So congratulations to him and the Clemson Tigers. Also, we are
it's just that
unless Jim Harbaugh is set to leave for the Vikings. Nothing's been confirmed, but it looks like Jim Harbaugh. This is the second interview he's done with the NFL, right? The first one was with Denver.
I'm not sure if it was confirmed or not, or if it was the Raiders or Denver.
Raiders.
But yeah, the early on when speculation first hit, I think it was even before the Raiders job was open, there was talk of maybe the Dolphins, maybe the Raiders, Jim Harbaugh, if he wants to go back to the NFL, that's where they would look. The Vikings thing popped up recently, basically. And it sounds, according to everyone who's tracking this thing closely, it sounds like Jim Harbaugh's taking that job if it's offered to him. The question is that what the Vikings are going to do? But if they do, and Jim Harbaugh wants to be back in the NFL, that he's taking that job.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I don't know if I'm shocked or surprised by that. I mean, I think there's a piece of me that is a little bit surprised, considering Michigan made it into the college football playoff this year. And, that was kind of the knock on Coach Harbaugh, right? Was when could he break through into the elite of the elite in the sport? Well, when you get into the playoff, you're in the elite. And now, right around signing day, it looks like he's going to head back to the NFL. And so, obviously, Michigan, this is something that he is choosing to do. The question is why. I'd love to hear the why. Is he done with the college game? He was on a lifetime contract, basically. He could literally ask them for however much money he wanted to ask them for. He will get it in Michigan. He could literally name his price. You know that. We all know that. He could, and he's going to get it there.
I wonder, and that's part of my thinking that none of this surprises me. Not because he finally beat Ohio State. He finally, like you said, got to the playoff, finally wins the Big Ten 1 year after many people, including people around Michigan, figured it was better off for them to part ways, took a pay cut, moves forward, and then has this type of a year. There can easily be part of him that says, what else can I do? How much more can I really accomplish here? And those close to him have been saying for a while that he, A, is interested in the NFL, will always be. B, Dan Patrick brought this up today. His brother's got a Super Bowl ring. He doesn't. And the quest for that. So if here's an opportunity, I've already accomplished what I can here. There's enough groundswell behind it. I mean, any little slip up now, and it's, here we go again with Jim Harbaugh. The getting's good. If you're Jim Harbaugh and you want to get back to the NFL, the getting's good right now, where you've already done everything except win a national championship.
Well, it would continue to add to what I believe has been an unprecedented offseason in college football, Darren. I mean, gosh, I'm sure there has been, but it's been a long time since we've seen the movement at Blue Bloods like this. I don't think for a while that Michigan was necessarily one of today's Blue Bloods, but they're kind of back in the thick of it now, right? So, and the history of the sport, they're a Blue Blood. Yeah. But I just mean, recent success and things of that nature. So you've got Michigan, Oklahoma, LSU, Florida, Southern Cal, all moving this year amongst
Notre Dame.
others. Notre Dame. I mean, those are the Blue Bloods of the sport, yes, except for Alabama, basically. And the movement has been. I'd be fascinated to see a study. And we all think it's so simple, right? Well, yeah, they're moving because they want more money, or they move. Yeah, that might be true, but also behind closed doors, like what would these coaches tell somebody in some type of private survey so they could gather all that information and put it out there and nobody knows where it came from? Why? And everybody has a little bit of a different reasoning, Darren, but there's been a lot of it. And there's been a lot of it from guys who have really, when you look at it on paper, no reason to move. I mean, that we know of, right? Like, why would Lincoln Riley leave Oklahoma? Why would Jim Harbaugh leave? Why would Brian Kelly leave? We know why Ed Orgeron left. I mean, we know what happened to Southern Cal. We know what happened to Florida. But those guys, why? I mean, they were in great spots. They were making a boatload of money. They were incredibly well supported. They've been in and out of the college football playoff. They've basically got everything you would desire. Why?
I said this then. I'll say this now. Figuring out people's why is the key to all of this. And they're all different whys. So that's why I can't be surprised anymore by a coach leaving a seemingly perfect situation. And maybe it is a perfect situation to go try something else. Maybe they want a different lifestyle. Maybe they want a different challenge. Maybe they want a different area to live in. Maybe their wife hates where they live. Who knows? So it's hard. It's hard for me anymore. I mean, at all. And this cycle proved it. It's hard for me to just casually dismiss, oh, this coach will never leave there and go somewhere. Why not? Of course he would. If in his mind, for whatever reason, he's ready for a different challenge, ready for a new career path. Yeah, then it makes all the sense in the world. It's not always about the money. These guys are all getting paid, and we're all getting paid where they were and could have easily stayed where they were and gotten more money. It's not just about the money when it comes to this. It's about, what do I want for my life? And if for whatever reason you're Lincoln Riley and you prefer LA over Norman, Oklahoma, I probably would too, then okay, go give it a shot. Be the star in LA. It all makes sense to me if that's, if you can get inside their head.
It's amazing. I mean, and the money is outrageous with what a lot of these guys are getting. Not that I'm upset about it. That's what the market says they're worth. That's what they're worth, but it is what it is. Michigan, if they are set to hire a new coach soon, I'll be interested to see what that looks like and where they go. There's obviously going to be still plenty of names that pop up. Shoot, I've already seen Matt Rule's name pop up, and according to sources, Matt Rule would be interested in listening to Michigan if they called. I don't know. I really don't know, but apparently that's something that could be on the table. I mean, it's Michigan, and to your point just a minute ago, it's starting to get to where when these lists come up, they don't matter anymore, because we're basing these lists around traditional data points, and none of that matters. It doesn't matter anymore. We just watched it for the last 2 or 3 months, Darren. There's coaches who Brian Kelly at LSU. Wait, huh? What's going on here? So I think when you have schools that have power, and by power I mean money, Money is power in college football. I mean, if they offer Brian Kelly $5 million, would he be there? No. Come on. We know that. So, I mean, if you have the resources, if you have the power, and there's somebody that you want, I don't honestly think that anything at all is off the table anymore. And I would go as far as to say that if Michigan decided, I think that we want Lincoln Riley, and everybody said, nah, he just took the job at Southern Cal. Don't care. Offer him $15 million a year and see what he says.
Got to make the call. If you're Michigan, anyone's going to answer your call. You can make the call and you will have that conversation. They can tell you no, but I wouldn't take it that it's one of the premier jobs in the country, and there's no question about that. If you're Michigan, you write down a list and you start going down your list, picking up that phone. Matt Rule, that's enticing to me. Craig just chimed in with Campbell over at Iowa State. He's probably going to be on that list because he's been on every single list we've seen popping up, and
I can't believe he's still there, Darren.
No, I'll say the same thing. I think he wants the NFL, but I don't know. I don't know him personally. It'll be fascinating to see who they go get. They're going to want to make a splash. It's really late in the game at this point, but they're Michigan. If they call, people are going to answer that phone.
Yeah, it's startling kind of where we are. But if you think your coach is safe, he's not. If they decide that they want Dabo Swinney, they probably should call Clemson and talk to Dabo Swinney. Do I think Dabo wants to leave? No, I don't. But I'm just saying, for the sake of the conversation, it could change quickly when you throw a bunch of cash at guys. They've been doing.
It's an opportunity for Michigan. As an opposing Big Ten fan, Jim Harbaugh leaving scares me because it's an opportunity for Michigan. They had grown up until this year where they did get over the hump. There's still like a staleness to them, and it's an opportunity for Michigan to go make a splash and boost themselves.
Well,
it's a scary time, at least from my perspective, looking at that.
Yeah, to your point too. This is the first time in I don't know, since Schembechler maybe, like that they're leaving, that the coach who's departing the program is leaving it in a very desirable spot. I mean, you look at the previous coaches. I mean, even Lloyd Carr. I mean, it wasn't up to the Michigan standard when he left the program.
Right.
But I mean, every other coach since, I mean, nothing's really worked out to what the way that it should be working at Michigan, the way that they see their school, and they should see their school that way because of what they've done. But then they look over the border and they go, okay, this can't happen anymore. This Ohio State every year just basically being placed into the college football playoff before the season even starts. Like we can't let this happen. So who can help stop that? Who can help prevent Penn State from becoming the juggernaut that they once were? Who can keep Wisconsin at bay? Who can keep, Iowa from making their mark in the Big Ten and kind of claiming our role in it? So this is the first time we're in a long, long time where the coach leaving the Wolverines program is leaving it where somebody's going, oh man, I'm going to get the keys to a Chevrolet or to a Ferrari. And, of course, with the transfer portal, they could always leave, but you're not going to transfer to the Minnesota Vikings. It doesn't work that way.
No, but
not yet.
There's the portal too. Whoever's there, whoever they get to bring in, he can go raid that portal of whoever's left in that portal. And then you got the next portal cycle also. Michigan's, I'll call it a downfall. It's always been, we need a Michigan guy. We need a Michigan guy. Like That's why Harbaugh survived as long as he survived, because he's a Michigan guy. I hope they keep that idea. I mean, as a Penn State guy, I hope that's still their logic. They can go hire Tom Brady.
Hire Tom Brady. He might. Didn't get to the Flores stuff today. We will get into some of that tomorrow on our program, but I'll leave Darren the final word here because your former Redskins have a new chief.
Commanders. Someone said to me, it's like an XFL name. I hadn't thought of that, and now it's like the only thing I'm going to think of. I have been saying for, a year, 2 years, since they said the name was going to change, that they should just keep Washington Football Team. I like the helmet. The helmet looks fine to me. The white jersey looks like it has wrong red, not the same burgundy color. That looked a little weird. Commanders is cheesy, but whatever they picked was going to be cheesy. Whatever. Go Commanders. I'm in.
Shane Beamer's coming up. We will have full reaction tomorrow. Thanks to JC Shurburtt. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Darren Goldwater, as always. Have a wonderful Wednesday. If you're going to the Dog and Duck, it's that brown bag day. Get you a smash burger here in the Low Country. Can't wait to see you back here tomorrow. Until then, have a wonderful day.